It was supposed to be just another training day until the doctor leaned back in his chair, removed his glasses, and shattered my entire world with one sentence. "You're carrying a life inside you." I laughed. I actually laughed, like some kind of sick punchline had just been thrown into my face. Because men don't get pregnant, right? Not in America, not in 2025, not in the middle of firefighter training camp where every drop of sweat is about survival and pride. And yet, there I was, sitting half numb in a cold examination room, the faint scent of antiseptics stinging my nose, staring at a grainy ultrasound screen that confirmed something my brain refused to process. I wanted to say, "You're wrong. Check again. This is insane." But the words never left me. All I could think about was how the last few months weren't just exhaustion from drills and smoke simulation tunnels. The nausea, the late-night dizziness, the way my body seemed to be revolting against me. Suddenly, it all made horrifying sense. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't just fighting fire anymore. I was carrying someone. Training had been brutal. They warned us the academy would push every limit. Sprinting through flames, dragging dummies that felt twice my weight, endless climbs on the ladder tower until my calves screamed. I was good at hiding my weakness, too good. But now, hiding wasn't an option anymore. I remember the first time I saw him, Nathan. He wasn't part of the academy. He was the paramedic station nearby, always on standby during our training in case one of us collapsed from smoke inhalation or heat stroke. His uniform was different white shirt tucked into navy blue pants, a stethoscope hanging lazily around his neck, dark curls falling into his eyes. The guys used to tease him, call him the pretty medic, whispering things when he walked past. But me, I couldn't stop staring. Not because of how he looked, though God knows that was reason enough, but because he had this way of looking at people. Like he could see straight through the armor we all wore. Like he knew the cracks in me I refused to admit existed. One evening, after I nearly blacked out dragging a water hose through the burn tower, Nathan was the one who knelt beside me, pressing cool fingers against my wrist. "You're burning yourself out," he said softly. "Your body's trying to tell you something." I remember snapping back. "Yeah, it's telling me to toughen the hell up." But his eyes, God, those eyes looked at me like he wished I'd stop pretending. Now the pretending was over. The doctor's words had stripped me raw. Pregnant. Impossible. Unbelievable. And yet, the evidence was pulsing right there in my chest, in my gut, in the quiet rhythm of something not just mine anymore. The first thing I thought about wasn't the academy. It wasn't the captain who drilled into us that weakness had no place in the firehouse. It wasn't even my parents, who had already warned me that firefighting was not a stable life, for a son who already lived differently. The first thing I thought about was Nathan. How could I tell him? Would he believe me? Would he laugh like I laughed at the doctor? Or worse, look at me like I was broken? That night, I lay in my bunk at the training dorm, surrounded by the muffled snores of the other recruits. My hand drifted unconsciously to my stomach, as if by touching it I could erase the truth. But instead of emptiness, I felt this strange, quiet gravity, pulling me into a future I wasn't ready for. I didn't know if I should cry, scream, or laugh again. Instead, I whispered to the darkness, "What the hell am I supposed to do now?" And in the silence, I swear I could almost hear an answer. The next day, Nathan found me before I could find him. He was leaning against the ambulance parked outside the training field, arms crossed, sunlight cutting sharp lines across his cheekbones. "You don't look okay," he said immediately. "You didn't sleep, did you?" I wanted to brush him off, make a joke, anything to steer him away. But the weight of the secret pressed against my ribs until it almost broke me. "I saw a doctor yesterday," I blurted. His eyes narrowed. Concern. Fear. "What did they say?" I swallowed hard. "They said, I'm carrying a life inside me." For a moment, he just stared. I braced for the disbelief, the mocking laughter, the same instinct I had when I first heard it. But Nathan didn't laugh. He didn't even flinch. Instead, he stepped forward, closing the distance until his hand brushed mine. "You mean, pregnant?" His voice was barely a whisper. I nodded, my throat tight, and then God help Maya's thumb pressed against my knuckles, warm and steady, grounding me in a way I didn't think possible. "Then we'll figure it out. Together." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to let his words sink into my bones and dissolve the panic clawing at me. But the world doesn't bend easily for men like me or for whatever miracle had taken root inside me. Word would spread. The academy would not tolerate distractions. The guys would never understand. And my family? I couldn't even imagine calling my mother with this news. But Nathan, he stayed. Every time I pushed him away, he came back with gentleness, patience, and a strength that didn't need fire to prove itself. Still, every night I lay awake, torn between two impossible futures. To keep training, risking everything, or to protect the life inside me and walk away from the one dream I'd fought for since childhood. It felt like a fire no amount of water could put out. That was just the beginning. And as much as I wanted to believe Nathan's promise, I knew the flames were only getting higher. Because in America, in a world that barely accepts us as we are, there's no easy way for a firefighter to admit he's carrying more than just courage. There's no easy way to admit he's carrying life. The next morning, everything felt heavier: the air, my boots, even the simple act of breathing. It wasn't just training weight anymore. It was the burden of knowing, of holding a truth inside me that could break everything I had built. "Cadet, pick it up," Captain Morales barked as I stumbled during the hose relay. His voice cracked through the smoky haze like a whip, and I forced my legs to obey, muscles screaming. The others surged past, sweat dripping off their helmets, and I could almost hear their unspoken judgments. "He's slowing down. He's not cut out for this." But none of them knew. None of them could. When the drill ended, I collapsed against the tower wall, dragging in ragged breaths. My stomach churned, not just from exhaustion but from the quiet reminder that I wasn't just failing myself anymore. I pressed a hand against my abdomen when no one was looking, as if I could shield the secret. Nathan appeared out of nowhere, a bottle of water extended toward me. "You're running yourself into the ground." I tried to laugh it off. "That's the point of training, isn't it?" But his eyes didn't soften. He looked at me like he could see the truth bleeding through the cracks I tried to hide. And for the first time in years, I wanted to let someone in. Later that night, I found myself outside the dorms, the cool air biting against my sweat-soaked shirt. Nathan joined me, sitting on the steps with his knees pulled up, his stethoscope dangling between his fingers. "You haven't told anyone else, have you?" he asked. "No," I whispered. "How could I? They'd think I was crazy." "Hell, I think I'm crazy." "You're not crazy." His voice was steady, firm. "You're scared. There's a difference." Something about the way he said it unraveled me. I turned to him, words tumbling before I could stop them. "I don't know what to do. If I quit training, I lose everything I've worked for. If I stay, I'm risking." I trailed off, pressing a palm against my stomach. "This." Nathan reached over, his hand brushing mine again. Every time he touched me, I felt steadier, like the chaos in my chest had somewhere safe to rest. Maybe it's not about choosing one dream over another. Maybe it's about finding a way to fight for both. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But how could I fight a battle that had no rulebook? Days turned into weeks, and the weight of the secret grew with me. Training pushed harder, burn rooms filled with choking smoke, rope climbs that shredded my palms, endurance tests that left me gasping. Each drill was another gamble, another risk that the life inside me would pay the price. I avoided the showers, avoided the locker room jokes, avoided eye contact when the guys compared bruises like badges of honor. I was hiding in plain sight, and it was only a matter of time before someone noticed. One night, Nathan cornered me outside the medic tent. "You can't keep doing this," he said, frustration crackling in his voice. "You're endangering yourself and them." His hand moved instinctively toward my stomach, but he stopped short, like he wasn't sure if he had the right. "Don't," I snapped, harsher than I meant. "Don't make me choose right now." His jaw tightened, but his eyes never left mine. "I'm not making you choose. I'm asking you to be honest with yourself, if not with anyone else." The silence stretched between us, thick with everything I couldn't say. Finally, he whispered, "I'll be here, whatever you decide." And just like that, he walked away, leaving me with the ache of his absence heavier than any fire hose I'd ever carried. The breaking point came 2 weeks later. We were in the middle of a live-burn simulation, dragging charged hoses through a maze of smoke and fire. The heat pressed against me like a living thing, my breath hot and shallow under the mask. My legs trembled, my arms burned, and then suddenly vision blurred. The world tilted, the hose slipped from my hands, and I went down. The last thing I remembered before the blackness swallowed me was Nathan's voice, shouting my name, cutting through the roar of flames like a lifeline. When I woke, I was in the medic tent, the sterile light too bright, my body too heavy. Nathan was there, sitting beside the cot, his hand wrapped firmly around mine. "You scared the hell out of me," he said, his voice raw. I tried to sit up, but he gently pushed me back down. "Don't. You need rest." "What happened?" My voice cracked. "You collapsed. Heat exhaustion," they said. "But we both know it's more than that, don't we?" The look in his eyes left no room for lies. And for the first time, I didn't try to give him one. "I can't do this anymore," I whispered. "Not like this." His hand tightened around mine. "Then don't. Let me help you. Let me be part of this." Tears stung my eyes, hot and unexpected. "Why? Why would you want to carry this with me?" "Because," he said simply, "I already care about you more than I ever planned to." The words broke me open. I turned my face away, ashamed of the tears, ashamed of the weakness. But Nathan didn't let go. He stayed, silent and steady, until my breathing slowed again. The academy released me on medical leave for the rest of the week, and in that fragile space, Nathan became my anchor. We spent nights talking in the quiet corners of the training grounds, his hand always close, sometimes brushing against mine, sometimes steadying me when the fear threatened to swallow me whole. One night, as the crickets sang outside and the dorms settled into silence, I asked the question that had been gnawing at me for weeks. What if I'm not enough? For the academy? For this child? For you? Nathan leaned closer, his forehead almost touching mine. "Then we'll be enough together." I wanted to believe him. In his eyes, I almost did. But the world doesn't let secrets stay buried. Word began to spread, quiet whispers in the locker room, lingering stares during drills. Someone must have seen me falter too many times, must have noticed the way Nathan's concern lingered around me like a shadow. One afternoon, Morales pulled me aside. His voice was gruff, suspicious. "Is there something you're not telling me, son? Something that's affecting your performance?" My throat closed. The truth pressed at the back of my teeth, but I couldn't let it out. "Not yet. Not like this. I'm fine," I lied. "Just need to push harder." But the way he looked at me told me he wasn't convinced. And I knew it was only a matter of time before the flames I'd been hiding would consume everything. The real question wasn't if my secret would come out. It was when. And when it did, I didn't know if I'd be standing in the ashes alone, or with Nathan still by my side. The whispers spread like smoke. At first, it was just subtle things, the guys in the locker room falling silent when I walked in, side glances during drills, muttered comments I couldn't quite catch. But then came the questions. "You sick or something?" one of the recruits asked as I changed into my gear. "Lose weight or gain it?" "Can't tell," another snickered. I kept my head down, my fists clenched so tight my nails left half-moons in my palms. They couldn't know. They wouldn't know, not until I figured out how to control the story, if that was even possible. But the pressure was building. My body wasn't as easy to hide anymore. The small changes were there, the tightness in my shirts, the way my endurance faltered faster, the new protective instinct that made me curl an arm around my stomach when no one was looking. And Nathan saw everything. He didn't press me in public, didn't let on that he knew, but the second we were alone, his walls crumbled. "You can't keep pushing like this," he whispered one night, his hand brushing mine beneath the table in the cafeteria. His thumb pressed reassuring circles against my skin, hidden from everyone else's view. "You're going to get caught. And when you do, it's not just your training that'll be over, it's your health." I pulled my hand away, even though every part of me ached to keep it there. "You think I don't know that? But this is my life. My dream. I can't just give it up." His eyes softened. "And what about this life?" His glance flicked meaningfully toward my stomach, so subtle no one else could have noticed. "Doesn't that matter just as much?" The words struck me deeper than I wanted to admit, because he was right. And yet, I couldn't shake the image of my father's face the day I told him I wanted to be a firefighter, the disappointment, the bitterness. "You'll never make it. Too soft. Too different." If I quit now, if I walked away, it would feel like proving him right. The breaking point came on a Wednesday. We were running drills in the tower, smoke machines filling the stairwell, sirens blaring overhead. My team charged upward, hauling hoses behind us. My legs screamed with every step, my lungs burning, and then halfway UPI faltered. "Move it, cadet!" Morales shouted from below. I pushed, forcing my body forward, but the weight in me pulled like an anchor. My vision blurred again, my breath shallow. One more step, I told myself. Just one more. But my knee buckled, and I crashed hard against the stairwell wall. The guys ahead turned, their faces masks of shock and irritation. One muttered, "He's dead weight." Before I could even gather myself, Nathan was there. I don't know how he got into the tower so fast, but suddenly his arms were around me, strong and steady, guiding me back down the stairs. "He's not dead weight," Nathan snapped at the others, his voice sharp as a blade. "He's human." Back in the medic tent, Morales stormed in, his face like thunderclouds. "What the hell is going on with you?" he demanded. "This isn't just fatigue. I've seen you struggle for weeks. You're hiding something, and I won't have liabilities on my team." I froze. My mouth opened, but no words came. The truth clawed at my throat, but I couldn't force it out. Nathan stood between us before I could answer. "He needs rest, that's all. If you push him harder, you'll lose him completely." "Stay out of this, medic," Morales growled. But Nathan didn't move, his shoulders squared, his stance firm. "If you care more about numbers than lives, then maybe you shouldn't be in charge." The silence that followed was suffocating. Morales's glare could have burned through steel, but finally he turned on his heel and stormed out, muttering under his breath. The moment the door shut, I collapsed back onto the cot, my chest heaving. "You shouldn't have done that," I whispered. "You just put yourself on his radar." Nathan knelt beside me, his hand cupping my jaw, forcing me to meet his eyes. "I don't care. I won't stand by and watch you destroy yourself. You don't have to carry this alone." The words hit harder than any fire I'd ever faced. And in that moment, something inside me broke, something that had been holding me back, keeping me from admitting just how much I needed him. So I leaned forward, closing the distance, and kissed him. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, raw, like a dam bursting after holding back a flood. His lips were warm, firm, tasting faintly of coffee and stubbornness. His hands slid behind my neck, pulling me closer, grounding me when my whole world was spinning. When we finally pulled apart, our foreheads pressed together, breath mingling, he whispered, "I've been waiting for you to do that." And for the first time in weeks, I smiled. From that night on, something shifted. We were careful in public, always aware of eyes watching. But in the quiet moments after drills, late at night, hidden in corners who let the walls down, his hand found mine without hesitation. His voice softened in ways no one else heard. And when the weight of it all threatened to crush me, he reminded me with every touch, every look, that I wasn't alone. Still, the fear never left. The academy wasn't blind, and rumors had already started to sharpen into suspicion. One evening, as I left the mess hall, I overheard two recruits whispering, "Something's off about him." "Yeah, Morales says he's hiding something. We'll find out soon enough." The pit in my stomach grew heavier. It wasn't just my secret anymore. It was Nathan's too. And if it came out, we'd both pay the price. The day it all unraveled was a Friday. We were mid-drill, dragging hoses across the yard, when I stumbled again. The ground tilted, my stomach twisting, and this time I couldn't recover fast enough. The whispers grew louder. One of the guys shouted, "What's wrong with you? You pregnant or something?" The words were meant as a joke, but the world froze around me. My chest clenched, my breath stuck. And then, before I could react, Nathan's voice cut through the air. "Enough!" he shouted, striding forward, fury blazing in his eyes. "You think this is a joke? You think tearing each other down makes you stronger? You have no idea what he's carrying." The yard went silent. Everyone stared at him, then at me. And I knew. The secret wasn't safe anymore. That night, I sat in Nathan's apartment, my head buried in my hands, tears hot against my palms. "They're going to know," I whispered. "All of them. And once they do, I'm done." Morales will throw me out. My career's over before it even started. Nathan knelt in front of me, his hands steady on my knees. Listen to me. Your career doesn't define you. The secret doesn't define you. You're more than a uniform. You're more than what anyone thinks. His voice cracked on the next words. And you're not alone in this. I'm here. Always. I looked at him then, really looked at the fire in his eyes, the stubbornness, the love he didn't even try to hide anymore. And for the first time, I let myself believe it. But belief didn't stop reality from coming. The next morning, Morales summoned me to his office. His expression was unreadable, his hands folded on the desk. Rumors are dangerous in this line of work, he said. They spread faster than fire, and they destroy trust. I don't know what's going on with you, cadet, but you need to make a choice. Either you come clean, or you walk away. My throat tightened. My heart pounded so loud I could barely hear. I wanted to tell him. I wanted to finally let the truth out. But fear held me still, choking the words before they could escape. So I just nodded. Yes, sir, and walked out, knowing the flames were closing in. That night, lying in Nathan's arms, I whispered the words I'd been terrified to say. I think I have to leave, before they throw me out. His arms tightened around me, his lips pressing against my hair. If you leave on your terms, not theirs. I swallowed hard. And if I stay? He pulled back, looking at me with a mix of fear and pride. Then we fight. Together. And for the first time, I realized this wasn't just my battle anymore. It was ours. And somehow that made me stronger. The academy yard was restless the next morning. I could feel the stares burning into my back as I lined up with the other recruits. The whispers weren't whispers anymore. They were pointed looks, muttered words that carried just loud enough to sting. Something's wrong with him. He's hiding it. Morales knows. Guy can't even run a drill house. He's supposed to save lives? My fists curled inside my gloves. I wanted to shout, to fight, to silence them all. But what could I say? That the doctor said I was carrying life inside me? That every day I ran these drills with a heart that wasn't just mine beating in my chest? They'd laugh. Or worse, they'd believe me, and I'd lose everything. Cadets! Morales's voice boomed, snapping the tension like a whip. Today's evaluation will decide who advances. No excuses. No weakness. The guys straightened, their jaws set. My stomach lurched. I felt Nathan's gaze on me from across the yard, standing by the ambulance. His eyes locked with mine, steady, grounding. I'm here, they said. Whatever happens, I'm here. I nodded, a silent promise to myself. Whatever happened today, I wouldn't run anymore. The evaluation was brutal. Hose relays, ladder climbs, smoke chambers, each task designed to break us down to the core. My body screamed with every movement, but I pushed, harder and harder, fueled not by pride this time but by something deeper. By the end, my uniform was soaked, my legs trembling. As I staggered across the finish line, the other recruits clapped each other on the back, ignoring me like I wasn't even there. But Nathan was there. Always. He caught me before I could stumble, his hand steady at my elbow. You did it, he whispered. You made it through. I wanted to collapse into him, to let the world see what he meant to me. But Morales's voice cut through the air. Cadet. My office. Now. The office was suffocating, the blinds drawn, Morales's presence filling the space like smoke. He didn't sit. He just stared at me, arms crossed, jaw tight. You've been hiding something, he said flatly. I don't care about rumors, but I care about honesty. This job demands it. So tell me what the hell is going on with you. My throat closed. My palms sweated inside my gloves. Every instinct screamed to lie, to bury it deeper. But then I thought of Nathan's eyes, his words. If you stay, we fight. Together. So I took a breath that felt like fire and said, Sir, the doctor told me I'm pregnant. Silence. Morales blinked once, twice, his expression unreadable. For a moment I thought he would laugh, call me insane, throw me out. But he didn't. His jaw tightened, his eyes narrowing, but not with mockery, with something else. Calculation. I don't know how that's possible, he said finally. And I don't need to. But you understand what this means, don't you? You can't hide it forever. You can't keep training like this. I know, I whispered. Then you have a choice. He leaned forward, his voice low, firm. Walk away with your head held higher, keep pushing until you burn out, and take everyone else with you. My chest tightened. My dream, the one I'd fought for my whole life, dangled on a thread. But for the first time, I realized it wasn't the only thing that mattered. The life inside me mattered too, and so did Nathan. I'll walk away, I said, my voice breaking, but not because I'm weak, because I'm protecting something worth more than a title. Morales studied me for a long moment, then gave a single nod. Then you've already proven more courage than most men who wear this uniform. When I stepped out of the office, the weight of the decision pressed heavy on my chest, but it was nothing compared to the weight that lifted when I saw Nathan waiting for me. It's over, I told him, my voice cracking. I'm leaving the academy. He searched my face, his eyes shining with something fierce and tender. And how do you feel? I let out a shaky laugh. Terrified, but free. Nathan's hand found mine, unapologetic, out in the open this time. Then let's face whatever comes next. Together. The weeks that followed were strange. For the first time in years, my days weren't filled with drills and smoke and the constant push to prove myself. Instead, they were filled with doctor's appointments, quiet evenings, and Nathan's steady presence. We moved slowly, cautiously, learning each other in ways we never had time for before. Some nights we sat on his couch, my head on his shoulder, his fingers tracing idle patterns on my arm. Other nights we fought about fear, about the future, about how impossible it all seemed. But every morning, I woke with his arm around me, his breath warm against my neck, and I knew I wasn't facing it alone. My family was another battle. When I finally told my parents, my mother's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes wide with disbelief. My father stared at me like I was a stranger. This isn't possible, he said flatly. You're making this up. I'm not, I said, my voice steady even as my hands shook, and I'm not ashamed of it. You're throwing your life away, he snapped. You had a future, a career, and now this. I braced myself for the old shame, the old urge to shrink. But Nathan's hand was on my back, steady and sure, and I lifted my chin. This is my future, I said, and if you can't accept it, that's on you, not me. For once, I didn't need their approval. I had my own. The months passed, and the quiet miracle inside me grew. The fear never fully left, but neither did the hope. And Nathan was there through it all, holding my hand during appointments, painting the nursery walls a soft shade of blue, kissing my forehead when the weight of it all pressed too hard. One night, as we lay together, the soft hum of the city outside, I whispered, "Do you ever think about what people will say about us?" Nathan kissed my temple, his voice low. "Let them talk. They don't get to define us. We do." And in that moment, I knew he was right. The day finally came in a rush of pain and panic, but also a flood of strength I didn't know I had. Nathan never left my side, his hand in mine, his voice steady as he whispered encouragement. And when it was over, when the cries of new life filled the room, everything else fell away. I stared down at the tiny, perfect face cradled in my arms, and tears blurred my vision. I never thought. My voice broke. I never thought I could do this. You didn't just do it, Nathan whispered, his arm around my shoulders. You brought life into this world. And I swear, I'll spend every day proving to you that we can do this together. Months later, I stood outside the firehouse, watching as the crew rushed out on a call. I wasn't in uniform anymore. I wasn't one of them. But as I looked down at the stroller beside me, Nathan's hand resting lightly on my back, I realized something. I hadn't lost my courage. I hadn't lost my purpose. I had just found a new way to fight, one that didn't involve running into flames, but building a life worth protecting. And when my child's tiny hand curled around my finger, and Nathan's lips brushed against my temple, I knew this was my fire now, and I would never stop fighting for it. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.